Developing tonight, a partial verdict in the sex trafficking trial of music mogul Sean Combs. The judge says that's not good enough, sending jurors back to deliberate a case people are watching across the country. Good evening. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Greg Lee. This case has several ties to the West, including a lot of evidence coming from a raid at Combs' Los Angeles home. This afternoon, a judge asked jurors to keep deliberating after they announced reaching verdicts on 4 of 5 counts in the case. The sticking point, a racketeering conspiracy charge. A conviction of that comes with a maximum sentence of life in prison. Fox's Connor Hansen has a breakdown of the complexities of this case.
After 2 days of deliberation following a nearly 2-month-long trial, a judge ordered jurors to come back at least one more day to try to reach a conclusion. Jurors said they have agreed on a verdict on 4 out of 5 counts.
It'll be all right.
The news drawing a large crowd outside the Manhattan courthouse. But in a note to the judge, they said they were unpersuadable on both sides when it came to count 1. That's the most complex and consequential charge, racketeering, which carries a life sentence.
I think it is probably the most confusing of the charges he's facing.
To be guilty of the RICO Act, the judge told jurors they have to find that Combs operated a criminal enterprise and committed at least 2 predicate crimes from a list ranging from kidnapping to drug distribution. Earlier in the day, jurors asked to go over some of the evidence. They reviewed testimony from Combs' former girlfriend about an incident at a hotel shown in this now infamous video. The jury claimed to have a verdict on 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Without the racketeering charge, Combs could still face 15 years to life in prison. The jury has another chance to deliver a verdict Wednesday before the court closes for the rest of the week. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
We spoke with TMZ about today's developments in court. Michael Babcock says Combs appeared visibly shaken by news of jurors reaching some verdicts.
This has to be very frightening news to Diddy and to Diddy's defense team. And again, it's reading tea leaves, Greg, right? But I think the reality is it's hard to imagine after hearing all of the testimony that we heard, including from women who said they were brutalized by this man. In one case, Cassie's case, we watched it on video. It's very difficult for me to imagine that jury coming back after only a day and a half and saying not guilty.
Look for extensive coverage of this sex trafficking case on westcoastwrap.com. Our online coverage includes a look back at the 2024 raid of Combs' Los Angeles home. The feds think a Chinese national who lives in Oregon is a spy. Today they revealed charges against Yuan Chen. Photos of the 38-year-old and other evidence in this case appear in court documents. Chen is a permanent U.S. resident who lives in Happy Valley, Oregon. Investigators say he and someone living in Texas oversaw clandestine military intelligence gathering operations as assets for China. Both suspects were arrested Friday. If convicted, they face up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. We have an update on the case of 2 firefighters who were killed in an ambush in Idaho. Today, mourners lined streets outside the Spokane County, Washington coroner's office to pay their respects as the firefighters' caskets were moved back to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. The firefighters who died have been identified as battalion chiefs Frank Harwood and John Morrison. Investigators say a man intentionally started a fire that crews rushed to battle on Sunday, then opened fire. Authorities identified the gunman as 20-year-old Wes Rowley. Officials say he was found dead a few hours later of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Investigators said the dispute apparently started when the firefighters asked him to move the car that he was living in. His grandfather says nobody expected anything like this to happen. He called Rowley a regular kid whose goals included becoming a firefighter.
Things he's excited about and wanted to do in life. And I know that he wanted to be a fireman. He was trying to be a forestry fireman.
The county sheriff said there had been 5 prior interactions between Rowley and local law enforcement and fire agencies, some for trespassing, but Rowley had no prior criminal history. By this time tomorrow, we should know how a plea deal plays out in an Idaho quadruple murder case. Brian Kohberger is expected to plead guilty to the killings of 4 college students in exchange for avoiding the death penalty. Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa spoke with some of the victims' families who say they are frustrated.
For more than 2.5 years, the families of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kronodle have been waiting for justice. Now, just a month and a half before the trial for the man accused of killing the 4 University of Idaho students was scheduled to start, Brian Koberger has accepted a plea deal.
There's only one bad guy, and that's who we should be focused on. It's a struggle, 2.5 years is a long time to wait.
On Monday, the Gonzalez family issued a statement saying they are beyond furious at the state of Idaho. They have failed us.
Sometimes in an upside-down world where courts feel like pressured to hide the evidence, and I'm still not fully understanding why that's a good strategy. If the facts of a case make you feel guilty or it makes other people think you're guilty, chances are you're guilty.
That is just a snippet of what Steve Gonzalez told Fox 13 a few months ago. On Tuesday, the family said it is not over until it is over. They also asked that the plea agreement requires a full confession, full accountability, and location of the murder weapon, and the true facts of what happened in November of 2022. The Gonzalez family said they deserve to know when the beginning of the end was. But the families of the victims are split when it comes to how they're feeling about the plea deal. We sat down with Stacy Chapin back in March when she was reconsidering attending this summer's trial.
We just genuinely have to trust the system. And we've said that from the beginning. We think the prosecutors have done a great job. Moscow Police Department, great job.
A spokesperson for the family tells me the Chapins support the plea deal and plan to be at the hearing, which will no doubt be an emotional day for all of the families involved, as they'll have to see Koberger face to face.
The thought of that is tough, sitting in that room.
You want to do all kinds of illegal things that you're not supposed to even talk about, but, you can think about them. Crimes of the mind, at least that's not illegal yet. But it's hard, it's terrible.
4 families forever linked through tragedy.
It's always kind of right at the forefront, so you have to learn to live with that.
We lost 2 people that were part of our lives, and we're supposed to be a part of our lives to the very end.
Shira Matsuzawa, Fox 13 News.
Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass says the city will defend itself against the lawsuit filed by the Trump administration over the city's sanctuary law.
The lawsuit is an attempt to overturn the will of the city, calling for a halt to long-standing policy to protect immigrant Angelenos. We are a city of immigrants who have had policies in place for decades.
But the feds argue the city's ordinance goes beyond the state's sanctuary law. They say it prohibits city agencies from sharing important information regarding undocumented people and even bars specific agencies from city property. The lawsuit comes as immigration agents have arrested hundreds of people in Southern California in recent weeks, setting off mass protests. The Washington woman charged in the death of a Border Patrol agent has filed a motion to delay the government's July 28th deadline to decide whether to seek the death penalty. Teresa Youngblood is accused of shooting at the agent during a traffic stop back in January and has been charged with using a weapon against law enforcement and firing a weapon during an assault. Her lawyers argue the timeline on the decision is rushed and the charges do not warrant the death penalty. Youngblood is known to be part of the cult-like group known as the Zizians that have been connected to 6 killings across 3 states. Coming up, 911 operators in Utah could soon get some extra help. The role artificial intelligence is playing in the dispatch center.
And we want to welcome to West Coast Wrap, Santa Cruz, California, where the wind is blowing, the low clouds are pushing in. We'll talk about the cool down and how it will affect the 4th of July with our West Coast Wrap forecast.
They're awful cute little birds with a bright orange beak and these big tufted things that come back.
Visitors from across the country coming to the Oregon coast for a chance to see an iconic seabird. It's Puffin Watch time. A portrait that has President Trump's approval hangs in Colorado's Capitol building tonight. The painting by Arizona artist Vanessa Orabuena replaces another portrait of the president that he didn't like. The White House donated the new image, which gives President Trump a sterner look. The president complained about the previous portrait, saying artist Sarah Boardman purposely distorted what he looks like. The Trump administration is withholding nearly $7 billion in federal education funds from schools expected to be available today. Money includes $811 million meant to go to schools in California. Congress had approved the funds to boost teacher training, expand after-school programs, and help students who are learning English, including those from migrant families. California education leaders have called the move unacceptable and illegal and say they will fight for that funding.
It means that this is a president of the United States that is willing to punish students in states that refuse to conform with the president's political ideology.
The White House says it is freezing the money so it can review grant funding and make sure it meets the administration's priorities. Today, a federal judge ruled recent mass layoffs at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services were likely unlawful. In her ruling, the judge ordered the Trump administration to halt plans to downsize and reorganize the nation's health workforce. The administration says it is reviewing the decision and considering its next steps. This morning's tie-breaking vote from Vice President J.D. Vance advances a Senate version of President Trump's tax and spending bill. The Senate's version of the bill includes changes to Medicaid. Fox 10's Steve Nelson spoke with a family in Phoenix worried about potential changes to the program.
This is Julian, a 43-year-old Arizonan with autism, and the pride and joy for Steve and Mary Beth. They were so appreciative when he held his first job in his 20s.
In a company that was, family owned and very focused on supporting people with disabilities.
Steve and Mary Beth told me he worked there 15 years, but Julian, who relies on Medicaid, slowly changed and things are different now.
He's definitely not able to function in a working environment, even one that's created for people with disabilities.
The so-called Big Beautiful Bill. One facet of the GOP bill would make cuts to Medicaid. Supporters say it would cut out fraud by forcing stronger work requirements.
Let's reform Medicaid and save it for those people who need it, but let's make sure that people who are able-bodied go to work every day and don't get things for free.
Are you concerned the fact that he previously held a job is going to hurt him in this?
Well, we are concerned about that.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, because people could say he could work. He's 43. You had a job. Why aren't you working now?
Right.
The fireworks started over the weekend in the Capitol as Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer forced a reading of the bill.
Democrats are going to force this chamber to read it from start to finish.
Democrats point to the findings of the Congressional Budget Office, which says the bill will add hundreds of billions, if not trillions, to the debt. It's that back and forth and the confusion over spin from both sides that's frustrated the Furmans. What about this makes you think that he's going to lose his access to Medicaid?
We don't know. The thing that bothers us is that you can't rely on anything.
Information.
Right. You can't rely on information, and you don't get you get talking points.
That was Fox 10's Steve Nielsen reporting. Now the bill will go back to the White House for a sign-off. House Speaker Mike Johnson has asked colleagues to avoid making major revisions, which would spark new debate. People across a lot of the Southwest hope they are on the verge of getting a break from the heat. A live look at Flagstaff, where an extreme heat warning expired about 15 minutes ago. A warning for the Phoenix area expires later tonight. Let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Roberta Gonzalez, who's tracking temperatures across the West. Roberta?
And did you see those clouds approaching the Flagstaff area? They're going to squeeze out about 4/100ths of an inch of rain. And I got to tell you, I just returned from Arizona, and everybody's jumping up and down talking about the monsoons, how they're late this year and they're ready to bring them on. And they'll have a good chance of monsoons returning by this weekend. Today in Phoenix, 112 degrees, just shy of the old record in 1990 of 115. Average highs 107 degrees. So where you see this red highlighted area all the way into portions of California, I'm talking about Yuma, Arizona as well. We do have a hot forecast still with an extreme heat warning in place, at least for the next 45 minutes. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and share with you Seattle, where the average high is 74, and today 87 degrees there. Compare that with this. San Francisco, average high 67 degrees, today shy of of that at 65. You can see in the background there the marine layer developing. That's very typical for this time of the year. We'll push on shore and become overcast later on tonight. Meanwhile, we head to Los Angeles. This is LAX, where the high temperature was 81 degrees, average highs in the mid-70s. But when you head over to Santa Monica, the temperature was 70 at the beach, and that's just 15 miles away. Currently, it's 60 degrees in San Francisco, mid-60s LA, 97 degrees in Vegas, 78 degrees in Reno. And how about Denver, looking good at 72 degrees? So here's the deal. We got a lot of thunderstorm activity nicking the extreme northern portion of the state of California, just outside of Mount Shasta. And then we have that very impressive marine layer hanging tight to the coast. This is where we do have also some red flag warnings in effect, in addition to fire weather warnings, which will allowed to expire later on tonight. But meanwhile, we're talking about high pressure remaining firmly in place and then gradually pushing to the east over the next 24 to 48 hours. Low pressure just spinning its wheel off the Southern California coastline, enhancing the marine layer there. Marine layer will wipe away gradually from the Bay Area all the way into Monterey Bay late tomorrow afternoon. And we still have sunny skies in the Pacific Northwest. So this is how we're going to play out your forecast. To the north in Seattle, a high temperature of 74 on Wednesday, which is where you should be for this time of the year. Still slightly below average in San Francisco. Mile High City, your temperatures are running well above average. And Phoenix, you'll gradually see your temperatures come down by the 4th of July. And that's also where you should be for this time of the year. Make it a great evening. Greg?
It looks good, Roberta. Thank you. More first responders in the West are turning over 911 to artificial intelligence. Fox 13's Maithili Gooby shows us why they think this will help people during emergencies.
So if you pick up your phone to call a law enforcement non-emergency dispatch line in a couple months, you might not be speaking to a human, but it could be AI instead. And it's something that dispatchers I spoke to say is a win-win.
We're the first step. We are the human element that allows callers to get the process started.
And now those humans are getting a little help from AI.
Currently, about 70% of our call volume is non-emergency. People don't realize that. A lot of people also don't realize that the same person answering that non-emergency call is the same person that answers the 911 calls. And so when our call takers are tied up on non-emergency calls, that takes them away from answering 911 calls.
Utah Communications Authority announced a statewide partnership with Motorola Solutions for AI to answer non-emergency calls to dispatch.
An AI bot could answer simple questions as the phone number to animal services or simple things like that.
Kevin Rose's team at Weber Area Dispatch 911 has been helping with testing of this new technology.
We've built into it that if it doesn't recognize what the caller's calling about, or even if it's recognizing that the caller's frustrated, it will immediately transfer them to a live person. We're not going to force somebody to have to sit through a chatbot if they don't want to.
And did he leave in a vehicle or did he leave on foot?
Most 911 dispatch centers in Utah have opted into this AI system. The main priority is to help dispatchers, especially with staffing being an issue.
I really hope that having this technology added to their systems is going to help decrease the stress on the 911 call takers.
AI will also help translate different languages, create transcripts, and reduce wait times for callers.
So I hope that they see the AI scenarios coming in and helping and assisting them to get what they need in a quicker fashion.
And there are guardrails in place.
Input our information into it, so it's a closed system. It's not out there, getting information from the internet. It's using information we provide it.
But knowing that if you need someone, there will be a person on the other end to help you.
What is the address?
The human element will never go away in 911. This is just a tool for us to be able to better serve the public.
In Salt Lake City, I am Maithili Gooby, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Grab your binoculars, it's peak puffin season. People are flocking to the Oregon coast for a chance to see the beloved bird. Plus,
we are celebrating a true American hero.
Celebrating a century of life, hundreds gather for a birthday party for a Southern California veteran. A special party in Southern California helped an incredible World War II veteran mark a milestone. The city of Whittier hosted this celebration for Yoshio Nakamura's 100th birthday. Nakamura expressed gratitude for all the attention.
It lifts me up, you know.
Everybody loves you, Yosh.
Thank you.
Tonight we are celebrating a true American hero. Yosh Nakamura is 100 years old, and to listen to the stories of his life have been so inspiring tonight.
An American hero indeed. Nakamura and his family were held in an internment camp for Japanese Americans before he enlisted in the U.S. military. After his service, he earned a Bronze Star Medal of Heroic Achievement. Finally, tonight, crowds are flocking to Oregon's coast for a shot at witnessing a rare sight. Fox 12's McKenna Marks shows us how they're on Puffin Watch at Cannon Beach.
The great Puffin Watch is in full flight, and I've certainly tried to dress for the occasion. Now, with a pair of these binoculars, you'll actually be able to catch a glimpse of the birds up on Haystack Rock. Now, for visitors, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that's unique to the Oregon coast. Cannon Beach is no stranger to beautiful wildlife, but this week, crowds are gathering around Haystack Rock to see the great tufted puffin.
They're awful cute little birds with a bright orange beak and these big tufted things that come back.
Oregon's tufted puffin population has been on the decline in recent years, according to nonprofit Friends of Haystack Rock. They're easy to miss, but with their signature orange beak and yellow tufts of feathers, these puffins come to Haystack Rock between April and September to nest. But this week is the peak of puffin season, and Cannon Beach is offering visitors a front row seat.
There's really no place on the shoreline to view puffins on the West Coast. Haystack Rock offers the opportunity for people to see them from the shore.
While locals made their way down the beach to see the birds, others traveled across the country. Mary Neisler and Lisa Foster are in town for a conference, but they couldn't pass up the chance to see the puffins while they're here.
Well, I've only ever seen them at the zoo in St. Louis, so it's so cool to see them in their natural environment.
It was Neisler's first time seeing the Pacific Ocean, and the puffins were an added bonus.
When you live in the middle of the United States, you don't get to see this kind of wildlife and the kind of scenery that you have here. We don't have that available in the Midwest.
The best time to see the puffins on Haystack Rock is in the mornings between 7 and 10 a.m., according to Chandler, and he hopes you can make the trip to catch a glimpse.
There's no better place to be than the Oregon coast.
Friends of Haystack Rock will be out here with scopes to make sure everyone can catch a nice view of the birds. The Puffin Watch event will run through the 4th of July, so you still have some time to make it out here to the beach. Reporting from Cannon Beach, McKenna Marks, Fox 12 Oregon.
Quite a sight to see. That's our report. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. A reminder, you can stay up to date on all the stories we are covering online. You can just go to westcoastwrap.com and stream all of our shows on your smart TV or phone just by downloading the Fox Local app. Have a great night, everybody.